ladies and gentlemen, the books is in. The books are in. Yep. They in. They're here. All right, y'all. What up? Peace. ETM Hotel, Rennie Sean. Welcome in peace. My name is Sean. We are back in the building. Yeah, we back in the building. So, again, thank everybody for tuning in. We just finished chapter 3 of Destruction of a Black Civilization, and we're doing this particular show because there was a beautiful dialogue in the chat. And some people still may have some questions or want to continue the conversation and advance the knowledge forward is regarding integration and as in the rise and fall of ancient Kemet, because that's what chapter that's what chapter 3 dealt with. It ended with the reign of Yankee, reestablishing rule in ancient Kemet. So we want to do it just like that now. I think a couple people. I know I'm sharing it.
I'm finna share it now. I just got in here. So please, let us show y'all. Let me jump on in.
So yeah, I can't share anything right now. It look like Facebook done restricted me for something, but yeah, peace DC, peace sister. I'm just finna go on ahead and call. You gotta change your name. Your last name Pie now.
Yeah, she wrote me to change it. I'm gonna go on Google.
I understand that you want to rock with Nelson. I get that. I get that. Personally, I get why you got that, but the mind don't go by that. The mind Pie side.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I need you to change your name from Nelson to Pie side. But yeah, we back, man, and we just want to continue the dialogue, man. The focal point of all of this was actually we started off with the Africans have some type of political system, and for some reason you had foreign rule dictating dictating African terms and African understanding and perspective, and then we go through and we start to see this agency take place as Africans begin to reign and control and begin to build and begin to ward off and then begin to integrate, and integration becomes its demise. And then you see the rise and fall of Kemet. Now, if you've ever listened to the Sesu Mani Meta Nature shows, You would hear Stable Jaw will talk about this all the time. To understand the fall of Africa is to understand the fall of ancient Kemet. And when you don't, if you don't think about what he's saying when he say that, like understanding, how Africa was conquered, it started in Kemet. Because if they don't get Kemet, they don't get nothing else. I'm gonna say that one more time. If the Arabs, the Asiatics, whatever you want to call them, or the Greco-Romans, whatever you want to call them, whoever, if they don't get Kemet, they don't get Africa. You have to remember, Kemet was the prized possession of the world because of its resources, trade, and so on and so forth. The things that it brought to the world. Now, peep this. Why is that even important for us? Because when it fell, other parts of the country began to fall. They had no interest in West Africa, West or Central, not even the South. They had no interest. Not even the East did they have interest in East Africa. They wanted agency and control over the Nile because no matter what, the Mediterranean was closer to the Nile. The Nile ran into the Mediterranean, and the Mediterranean was big on trade. They trade at sea, they warring at sea, they looking for things to control. A lot of information was coming into ancient Kemet, a lot of information was coming out of ancient Kemet, and a lot of what you would see when we call trying to get to, the Arabs and the European was heavily invested in on trying to do two things, and that was to get into to come into the middle. You know what I'm saying? They wanted to come into inland is the word I'm looking for. They wanted to come inland. So when they wanted to come inland, they wanted to expose and control those other areas because of the resources along, those areas. So now, again, we're talking about chapter 3, destruction of a black civilization, the fall of ancient Kemet, which for many was the prized possession. The fall of ancient Kemet will help us understand the fall of the rest of the continent. That's all I'm doing is drawing a parallel. I'm gonna say it again, the fall of ancient Kemet would help us see the fall of the rest of the continent. And integration in ancient Kemet was a huge, huge problem. Sanel, I think, you probably caught the message, but yeah, Sanel, thank Kofi trying to reach you.
Yeah, so, I'm trying to him up. Go ahead.
All right. So, Kofi and I had started the beginning of chapter 3 talking about, he began with the council of elders and having some type of understanding of that and everything. And I began to build on the Africans have some type of political structure. And what I would do in this particular conversation, because it's just a conversation we're having as an after show for chapter 3, I can show the rest of it. I can do that. I can get into what I actually had. So my screen should be sharing. And I'm gonna get into what I initially had here so people can actually understand what I actually was trying to do in this particular conversation. All right, so the political structure of ancient Africa. And I basically gave an outline, introduction, hypothesis, define the term, research question, Africa's political structure, conclusion. And in my hypothesis, I basically state that African agency has dwindled tremendously with the emergence of colonialism on the continent. Since foreign invaders have stepped foot in Africa, Africans have had to redefine themselves according to their worldview. When I say their worldview, I'm talking about the colonists, the colonialists that come into the continent, whether Arab or European. One issue specifically is how writers have defined political hierarchy on the continent. Without proper understanding of ancient politics, Westerners have driven readers to believe that no real self-government existed. I am of the belief that this causes a huge misunderstanding of how Africans saw themselves, causing them to adopt the notion that a certain way of life could be seen as savage, evil, or inhumane. Definitions. So, political structure, in a general sense, it refers to the institution or even groups and their relations to each other, their patterns of interaction within political systems and to political regulations, laws, and the norms present in political systems in such a way that they constitute the political landscape. Types of political structures, you have authoritarianism, monarchy, and democracy. Authoritarian, favoring or enforcing strict obedience to authority, especially that of the government, at the expense of personal freedom. Monarchy, a form of government which a monarch at the head. Democracy, a system of government by the whole population or all the eligible members of the state, typically through elected representatives. Each one of the definitions can be found in Wiki. I use it as a general source. So here's the research question. Did Africa have some type of political system? Can Africa hierarchy be defined by a Euro-Arab worldview? I want y'all to think about the research questions that I actually posed. And then when you go back to chapter 3 and read chapter 3 again, maybe that'll help you be a little bit more in depth with why I posed the research question the way that I did. Now, for people who missed the bill earlier, I would highly advise you to go back and watch the actual bill, just so you can get the gist of what was actually being said. But for the person that's just now joining the conversation, I will give you a piece of the argument. On page 96 of Destruction of a Black Civilization, and I'm going to go ahead and quote again, that's a Chancellor Williams state. We may now review a sum of the long period, beginning with an outline of some important developments that highlight factors in the rise and fall of Blacks and further discussion of those factors. Let us therefore begin at the beginning, where some of the misinterpretations were simply due to ignorance. This takes us back to the pre-dynastic period of about 4500 BC. Certainly not the beginning, but quite far enough. Many writers refer to the kingless periods before centralized states as a rule of the nobles, oligarchies, or hierarchies, etc. from the beginning. Therefore, the Westerners applied Western concepts to quite different African institutions. Later, they describe the same kind of societies as chiefless or worse, stateless. They did not understand the African constitutional system of real self-government by the people through their representatives, the Council of Elders. Nor did they seem to understand that the chief elder or chief was also the chief priest, or that the other elders also had religious functions in connection with their respective clans. During the pre-dynastic period under the discussion, they were neither oligarchies nor hierarchies as these terms are understood in the West. In fact, the Western conception of kingship was foreign to traditional Africa. What the West called king was in Africa the same senior elder who had to be elected and presided at the Council of Elders, and then only if he had the honor of belonging to a family whose ancestors had either founded the state or had been the most outstanding in promoting the welfare of the whole of the people. To such a family, the Africans gave permanent leadership status as long as descendant candidates qualified for it. Westerners called this the royal family. But again, the royal family concept was unknown to traditional Africa, where the chief or the king was the chief representative of the people before God and man, and at once the personification of the people's dignity and an instrument for carrying out their will. Much confusion and trouble developed and still exists all over the continent because Africans generally accept Western and Asian expressions without accepting their underlying ideas. Hence, an African king who attempted to be an absolute monarch or Oriental dictator generally found himself in trouble rather quickly. So that's where we start with this particular book. And that also goes to pose in the actual research question: did Africa have some type of political system? Can Africa hierarchy be defined by a Euro-Arab worldview? So imagine a time and a place where you exist among a people that carry the same traditions and customs as you, only to be told throughout history that your ancestors lived as barbarous, savages, and ignorantly. Even if they built great structures and or civilizations that stood the test of time, that somehow you are not responsible enough to create an advanced civilization that lasts for thousands of years. Think about how that demonized your culture, causing you to hate and convert from your traditional beliefs to that of your oppressor and influence you to hate who you truly are. After years of white air washing history, Africans and African diasporans began to take the center stage to write their own stories, but somehow that was not enough. Eurocentric and Arabic worldview and the spread of their supremacy just could not believe that Negroes had the capability to contribute so much to the world that was initially created and designed for themselves. Coffee, you agree with that? Oh, now you mute.
What you say now?
I asked you, did you agree with what I just said?
I didn't even. Yeah. I'm looking at it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know you're busy, but you know.
I agree with you. I didn't hear you per se, but I'm reading the slide right now. I'm trying to move from my.
Okay. Well, move and shake, man. Move and shake.
Off my desk and sit somewhere comfortable. I'm finna move.
All right. Well, into the first question at hand. Did Africa have some type of political system? Before I argue my point, I want to make this clear. How could you be responsible for providing the world with certain tools that are in use today and not have some type of agency among your people? Sounds crazy, right? So this is what we picked up in the discussion that I actually said. Now I'm gonna stop right here because the next couple of slides I actually deal with what we were talking about. And that's why I'm telling everybody to kind of like tune in to part one of the actual show where we actually get through all of that and we deal with everything we get. I do want to put this on the screen though. You know what I'm saying? Our body of work, and we're adding to that actual body of work. But as you can see, a multitude of our books are right here, and we deal with what we deal with. But yeah, I want to stop right there and just kind of leave where we are. Stop sharing my screen. And let's get back into the oh yeah, peace, sister. Yeah, we thank you for that. Yep, there you go right there. She putting it on the screen in case you missed it. She's on.
Yeah, please go back and watch that show, man. That was a great show, man. On chapter 3, man. Go back to, and we're gonna reiterate and talk about some of the things also that we talked about on the previous show.
So I mean, that's what we are. So yeah, I mean, how could we argue that they did not have a political system or structure when in fact that they had chieftaincies? Well, you know how they defined their political system versus a Eurocentric or an Asiatic perspective on how this is supposed to look. You know what I'm saying? So I think African agency is important in understanding who you are, what you did, or what you create, and your own merit, because that explains and that actually, you know, that gives the world your proper understanding of how you see the world around you. Uh, but I think Kofi wanted to what you want to get into first.
Man, what you want to kind of give them a brief synopsis of what happened, what we deal with the first show? Well, I just throw this question out here because I see a lot of people that wasn't in the book discussion that we had on the destruction of Black civilization by Chancellor Williams. I see we have some new faces in here, so they may not know or be following with what we talking about dealing with the after show. But I throw this question out here because we're gonna be talking, and I guess we'll be talking, with the after show. We'll be building a little bit further, and hope some of the people that had questions come back in, and we be able to answer the questions because the show went over 2 hours, and we weren't able to answer everybody's questions. But I pose a question here like I posed on the first show because I'll definitely get back into it, Sean. Will too, integration. And we're talking about the 6,000 years ago, and we're talking about integration. Integration took place 6,000 years ago when we deal with the 4500 BCE, when we talk about chapter 3 with minutes the unification of Upper and Lower Egypt. So is integration good for our people? Is integration better for our people, or separatist better for our people? I'll leave it there, man. And then when you're ready for me to chime in with whatever else you want me to deal with, or we can just kind of start off with what we left off at, or start at that perspective for people that might not know what we're talking about when we're talking about integration 6,000 years ago. If you want me to brief them real quick on
Okay. No, I ain't mean to cut you real quick. Man, I missed that. I don't think I got the notification for that. But yeah, Robon and Sanea was beating up the elbow.
Yeah, I've been checking them out. They've been doing that quite regular, man. I've been checking them out. I've been checking them
Yeah,
out.
I missed today's though. I did miss today's.
Yeah,
I But yeah, nah, let's deal with it. Let's deal with integration. Now, let's do this first. I think people misunderstand what we mean by it. So let's just tell people, let's deal with the word. Let's bring it up. Let's deal with the word. Okay, so I'm just gonna go to Webster Dictionary real quick just to give you a general understanding of what integration is. They said it's the act or the process of an instance of integrating, such as incorporation as equal into society or an organization of individuals of different groups, such as races. Coordination of mental processes into a normal, effective personality or with the environment. The operation of finding a function whose differential is known. The operation of solving a differential equation. Those are two explanations given by Merriam-Webster. Now, I'm gonna leave it right there with the definition from Merriam-Webster. And they again, the act or the process or an instance of integrating, such as incorporation as equals into a society or an organization of individuals of different groups, such as races. The coordination of mental processes into a normal, effective personality or with the environment. So Kofi poses the question, and we will reiterate: was integration a good thing? Dang near 6,000 years ago. This is where we see the first signs truly of integration among Africans and people that are outside the continent coming into the area of ancient Kemet or along the Nile.
and we have. I see a piece piece for that too. Pure Black. He says y'all are so underrated. Yeah. The our peace brother, Alu Dawuel, peace brother. He says integration is cool only after people have properly defined themselves, and so they don't lose the agenda once amalgamated. Um, I kind of disagree with that. Basically, dealing with influence. I don't think integration is a good thing for us at all. I mean, if we just go through the historical record, we can see integration for us dealing with us. It has been our downfall. And we'll talk a little bit more about that because, like I'm saying, we see that in present day time, but we and we see that 6,000 years ago when we deal with Kemet with the integration. So you know the downfall of Kemet was integration. I'll even say the downfall of us during the 50s and the 60s was integration too. So we can see the same parallel, and I talked about the same parallels between the separatists and the integrationists. You had during the civil rights movement, during the 50s and the 60s, you had the separatists, which was the Black Panther Party and the Nation of Islam, and you had to integration, of which was the civil rights movement. And you had this same thing 6,000 years ago when you deal with the people in the south of Africa and the people in North Africa, the people that resided in Kemet and the people that resided in Nubia or Ethiopia. I know y'all still refer to those terms, so this is why I'm using these terms: Ethiopia or Nubia, or the place that the Remich call it Tai Nahesi or Tai Seti. The people in the south was separatists, and the people in the north was integrationists. And but I'll just leave it right there, man, and then we'll just get back into it. But I mean, you want to answer Dawood question again? I don't think integration
But I don't even gonna say I think. I know integration is not cool, and we just looking at it from, and we can look at it from 6,000 years, and we can go all the way up until 20 right now, and we can see that integration has not been good for us at all. But that's just a piece on it.
Yeah. So he says integration is cool only after people have properly defined themselves. So let's start right there. People, okay, so the Asiatics or the foreigners to the land, or the Hekakasu is what, basically foreign rulers. We won't give them Hekakasu. We'll just say right now foreign to the land, right? We'll call these people Asiatics. Okay, for whatever reason, people want to call them that. That's what we're going to call them. All right, so these Asiatics was not too far away from ancient Kemet, because up there you have the area where, Northeast Africa, there's trade routes and there's people doing business in this area along, Kemet, that's, pretty familiar to people, because Big Bank, is Big Bank is going on right there. That's where everybody getting their bread is happening right there, right? So you got this prized area, well, marketplace. Let's just keep it trio. A marketplace of all types of resources exchanging hands, right? This place of business. Now, these Asiatics come in and they set up shop in a particular area under the direct, well, not really duress, but under the impersonation of a people that's currently in chaos. We could say that, right? You got beef going on, right? You got Upper Kemet versus Lower Kemet, so to say. So there's like a intra war between these two people. So they really ain't thinking about outsiders. They're only thinking about controlling one another along those lines. And then you have somebody come in, Menace comes in, and he wants to unify. Now, he wants to unify because there's two different type of rules, there's two different type of plays, there's two different type of ideologies, there's two different type of perspectives. There's, people aren't unified in anything that they need to move the people forward. So he wants to move the people forward and rule and rule. So when he comes in, yeah, just like the Bloods and the Crips, yeah. So he wants to come in and say, look, I'm gonna unify the two lands. And one way to do that is not only I'm gonna do it by force and by choice, but I'm also going to do it by bringing us together, because we have a bigger goal. We have extra outside influence trying to come in and take from us, and we need to be unified in defending our greatness. This riparian zone. We need to get into protecting our riparian zone and making our just due. Okay, so when you talk about defining themselves, now you got Africans that are born and raised on the continent, migrated to this particular area. Then you have foreigners who have came to this particular area and they're looking to set up shop, and unify under the umbrella of oneness. Right?
Right.
Now that you have the oneness going on and you get all these different things going on, these foreigners are not defining themselves. They're trying to become a part of the people. So they were never defined, really. They were foreign to the land. The people that were there originally called them foreign to the actual land, but they never got out of their identity. They just basically set up shop there until they found leaks in the hole to when they could grab control of a particular area and try to run trade. So he says, his second part, he says, as so they don't lose their agenda and once amalgamated. Now, what we did is we lost that. So the earlier instances and examples of integration failed us at that point, even after the unification of the two lands, because later on, when chaos precedes order, when chaos erupts, we lose control of Lower Kemet. The foreigners got it. What's in Lower Kemet that Upper Kemet wants to protect? That's for the chat. So now that we know that these people really didn't define themselves, what's in Lower Kemet that Upper Kemet wants to protect? Why is it important for Menace to unify the two lands? These are things that we actually have to deal with in order to honestly understand is integration something that we really want to, deal with as a people.
Yeah, I'm
Pure
laughing.
black.
I'm laughing at something in the chat, but
Yeah, pure
yeah,
black.
yeah, pure black.
Oh, okay. Yeah. He always got jokes. He
Yeah.
said integration is cool if the people that are coming in let the natives smash their women.
Yeah. So I mean, and while we waiting on that, just to reiterate what he's saying, when Menace came in to unify Kemet, now we got to take this is taking place 4500 BCE, y'all. This is pre-dynastic. This is for the dynastic period. So you have the Asians or the white man or whoever, the Arabs or whoever these people were that was in the land, right? And once they dispel or dethrone these individuals from out of Lower Kemet, Menace set up a policy. He set up an integrational policy for the outsiders to be a part or to amalgamate with them in Egypt, which caused degradation between the people. And the people in the South, seeing that integration was not the people of Ethiopia. When I'm saying the South, the people in the South, I'm referring to the people in Ethiopia, or Nubia, or Ta-Nehisi, or Ta-Seti, whatever. I'm using different names because people call it by different names. Most people know it by the misnomer name of Nubia because it houses a lot of gold, which the word in the running Kemet is noob. So when these policies, when Norma united or unified Upper and Lower Kemet and set these integration policies where they defeated these Asians or these whites, they let them live amongst them. They let them amalgamate with them in their country. And this integration policy caused it caused an issue with some of the people in Kemet, and it definitely caused an issue with the brothers down south. Their brothers down south. So I don't see anybody that answer the question, Sean.
All right. So think about what's in Lower Kemet. Who resides in Lower Kemet? What did they call the people? What did they call the people? Okay, let me change that because y'all might think that Lower Kemet. Okay, so you might be familiar more so along the terms with. I know you're not familiar with what Kobe said earlier. Ta-Nehisi or the Nehisi. You know them by a foreign name, derogatory name, that meaning Nubians or Nubia, right? So what's down there in Nubia?
Go.
Okay, so we know that gold is down there, bro.
Yes.
Remember, this thing is about resources,
Right.
trade routes.
Right.
Why
Because
would we want to integrate a people that's trying to live in the land that possesses so much gold? They can build their empire, a defense, and rule over that which we are trying to continue to control. So why would we let them live in the South and build up in the South? You know what I mean? So in order for Narmer or Menace to find peace, he had to unify the two lands so he can control the gold. Because that's how Kemet built its wealth.
Exactly. If it wasn't for the South, Kemet wouldn't be where they was at because a lot, again, when you talk about some of those the great period after Norman, when you talk about we talked about this earlier, the first dynasty up to the fifth dynasty, when they began to build, when peace took place, they began to build. Where do you think a lot of those supplies, the limestone, and all those other different materials come from for Kemet to be able to build? It came from out of Africa. Even when you deal with at one time, you had these cornerstones they said that was built out of pure gold. Pure gold. Where were they getting the gold from that was on the top of the pyramids, or even on top of the Tekkens, the Tekkens, if I'm not mistaken, these Tekkens that they build up. A lot of these supplies came from out, the resources came from out of the South, and again, the South, the brothers and sisters in the South did not agree with Menace and his integrational policy of integrating these people that you just dethroned from the throne in Kemet and amalgamate them in with the people. They knew that that this was not a good ideal to integrate these people with them.
Right. So now that we know that the South had the South had something that was influential to the to moving the people forward, we can now understand why we needed to control the South. Period. We needed to control the South. Controlling the South was beneficial for our people in understanding how we need to get to where we need to get to. So now that we know that, some of the resources used to build or construct some of these great monuments were in the South, we know that we needed to do something. Now, he made peace with these people and integrated them into the lands of the South. Again, where the gold at? Where the resources at? Why are they even here? They didn't know no gold was there. They didn't know these type of resources was there. They didn't. Because if they did, more of them would have already been there. It would, we would have had a war 10,000 years ago or something like that going on, where we see a whole bunch of stuff. But that's neither here nor there. But what we learned from it is that by integrating it that was part of our demise. That was part of the fall of ancient Kemet. When we look at integration in the 50s and in the 60s, when we look at the 60s, the fall of our demise. Why was it the fall of our demise? Because they segregated America. We couldn't be seen eating at their restaurants, using their bathrooms, drinking from their water fountains, using their cleaners, going to their schools, using their transportation systems, all of those things. So it made us have to create and build things for ourselves, and then it was for us, by us. And this is where wealth for Black people in the Americas began to grow. It's because we had no other choice but to depend on one another in order for our own survival. So there was relationships that were established and created to be established over time. So we would thrive. And you could take that back further to, your Black Wall Streets that you see not only in Tulsa, but in North Carolina, in Tennessee, in all these other states. You would see many Black Wall Streets all over these areas where Black people had to build these businesses. But the moment inclusion became into play and we began to fight so hard to integrate, you saw the demise. The same demise you've seen among our own people is the same demise that you've seen along the Nile. Acceptance, interbreeding, all of that. So that will bring us to the point of following along the chapter, and we get into the new breed. So what we dealt with specifically with the new breed is we have a new breed of people. Now, for everybody who didn't follow the show, a new breed is considered an African and an Asian mixed, a mulatto.
Mm-hmm.
So now you have an Asian, an African, and a new breed. And over a period of, Chancellor Williams said 1,500 years, a remaking of the Nile would come into play. So you had these Africans with a strong presence along the Nile for so long, and then all of a sudden, in a grace period of 1,500 years, a new breed would take center stage. This new breed would then develop its own identity.
Facts. They would definitely they would because of, again, like I talked about in the first show, you got the Asian copulating with the African and creating this new breed, right? And they groomed them to hate the African, and then their fathers begin to despise them. So the African begins to hate them because they was groomed to hate the African, and then their their fathers thought they was less than, you know what I'm saying, and treated them a different way. So now it has breeded this new breed of this new group of people, because they can't run now. They can't run to the side of the African side, because they despise them from the beginning with their hatred, and then for their hatred, the African begins to hate them, according to Chancellor Williams, and the the their fathers began to think less of them and despise them. For, I guess, which is crazy to me, for being an African, but they use laying with the woman for their own agenda, political reason, status, uh, and etc. So that's what he means when he talks about the new breed or the new group of people. Now in Kemet, you have not only the Egyptians or the Africans, and once you had the Africans and you have the Asians that was there. Now you have a new group of people who are Afro Asians or mixed breeds or the new breeds, as Chancellor Williams called them. So that's what he's talking about.
Now, I just want to add something for clarity, because with this new breed of a people, you don't know the social structure. When I mean social, no, the religious structure of these people. Now, they are along the Nile. So if they're already along the Nile and they haven't identified with something foreign to them, they will inherit the practices of the indigenous, the people that were there before them. Okay, we don't see this new breed of people creating new gods and all this stuff. We don't see that. We see foreign gods come into certain pockets in certain areas. But as far as this new breed of people, you don't see them practicing foreign ideology. So these new breed of people would then distinguish their own identity, and people like Chancellor Williams say, people like Homer and other people would start to identify classes along the Nile. So when they start classing the people along the Nile, they separated the Africans who've been there from the new breed, which would be considered Egyptians or the Remich, and then the Asians as the Asiatics, the foreigners. So now you have three classifications of people ruling along the Nile, with the blacks being in one area, the Egyptians in the so-called new breed, which they call in Egyptians. So we're just gonna call them that for separation status for this conversation. You have the new breed in the north, you have the Asians in the south, and you have the Africans in the center. And you have a time period going on where there's more turmoil, there's rulership changes, you have separate things going on. You have Lower Kemet ruling in its own way in dynastic periods, or whatever you want to call it. And then you have Upper Kemet doing its own thing. And then you have nobody trying to unify. The blacks is in the middle of both of these. Now, to be honest, the first instances of racism known to us is drawn from this book, The Destruction of Black Civilization, when he refers to people being called Egyptians, people being called black, and people being called the latter, Asians. So now we're starting to see this classification, this race classification in order for people to understand. And then from there, we transition into what? We transition into certain type of rules or whatnot. The unification, Kofi.
Oh, you talking about what you about the policies that took place during
Yeah, doing the separation.
What I mean, no, I'm not following you.
All right, so after the classifications take place, Egyptians, Black,
Okay,
Asians, right? They're all separate.
right.
Who's between the warfare to rule the whole Nile?
The new breed.
Right. So the new breed is ruling the Nile.
Mm-hmm.
The blacks are in the middle of the confusion.
Right.
And the Asians are at the bottom, pretty much not wanting to deal with the new breed.
Right.
So now you got the blacks front line in the war between the North and the South. And nobody's standing up to rule this place. Now, this rule takes place because Chancellor Williams calls it weak leadership. So with weak leadership, it allows these separate states to take place like this, and then you have people ruling in the South and the people ruling in the North, and then the Africans, they always been there on the hook. What do you say about that?
Say that again.
What you guys say about the Africans that's on the hook, trying to losing control and even not even really trying to regain control at this particular period?
Man, I don't know. I mean,
over integration.
Yeah, over man, I don't. I mean, say that to me one more time, man.
All right, what do you think about nobody's in control of trying to unify the North and the South? They're at war with the Black center.
Right.
So with the blacks in the center and wars of conflict, and nobody's trying to integrate or go through anything, what do you think about the blacks that's in the center of all the turmoil at this particular juncture? Like,
I don't know, man. Maybe they tired. Maybe they weak. I mean, I don't know, because you during that period where you have the new breeds that are actually ruling, and they're fighting the Asians, and like you say, and the blacks are in the middle at this point. They are, the racism turn come in. Now the new breed is now the Egyptians, the Africans or whatever they call themselves, and then the Asians or whatever they call themselves. So now you have a distinguish between the two, and the blacks are in the middle, and the blacks or the Africans or whatever they term them. I mean, I don't know what could be going through their mind at that time when nobody is trying to fight or engage to reclaim the land or unify the land, because at the time they wasn't even in power at that time. So I don't know if they was, tired of seeing the same thing, or maybe they just gave up, Sean. I don't know. I think maybe at this particular time they gave up. I mean, he used the word, and he used the word weak a lot, with weak leadership. Maybe, through the weak leadership that they had, when you start to see a lot of this stuff transpire with the weak leadership, especially when you start to see the breaking down of the governments, and they going into these different intermediate period. Because I think by the time, well, no, this is before we get to Menhotep, ain't it? Or is this right after Menhotep when we start to see classification?
Yeah, right before that.
Okay, yeah. So, and you had to deal with, maybe, the leaders, or what Chancellor Williams said, weak leaderships, when you start to get to the Sixth Dynasty and chaos started to break out and the government starts to break down, and the Asians or the whites begins to reclaim certain land, and then you start to see the new breed starting to take place and take their claim and their state. Maybe they through weak leadership, you know what I'm saying? The weak leadership set the example for the people that the blacks that was distinguished as blacks or Africans or whatever they were distinguished at this particular time, because they was no longer distinguished as the Egyptians because the new breed was at this particular time. Maybe it was just, low self-esteem and weak leadership setting that example of being weak where they just sat back and was weak until you see Menhotep just step up to the plate in the Levinson dynasty and said, "Shit, enough is enough." You know what I'm saying? We got to fight back, man. We got to reclaim back what's ours. We have to dethrone, and I'm not gonna say kick them out, because when you get to Menhotep make the same mistakes that Menes did with the unificationists too. Those policies is still in place. Those integration policies is still in place. He gives them the opportunity to live and continue to amalgamate with the people after he dethroned them from their position. So like I said, maybe it had to do with low self-esteem in the beginning before Menhotep. The lack of leadership, the weakness of the leader shown, which rubbed off on a lot of the other people. I mean, it could be many things. I mean, that's just my perspective of my opinion of what may have happened with the blacks in the middle, and really basically not really doing too much anything to reclaim their country or their land.
Okay, so what about because you keep talking about mental hotel and his mistake. So you saying that he didn't learn from the past either?
No, he did not learn. He did not learn from the past. And like I'm saying, even with him, if you continue to look for people that know, that follow the history of Kemet and know from the beginning of pre-dynastic all the way up until you get to the European influence after the what is it, the 17th or 18th dynasty, when you start to see the Ptolemaic period, the Greeks and the Romans come in, the Greco-Romans come in. Um, they all made the same mistake. They had been fighting uh back and forth of unifying the land, because these Asians or these whites or these Arabs or whatever they describe these Asians as as taking over the land. Each time they come in, they want to dethrone them, but still practice that brotherly hub, and we accept you, blase, blase, you our brother or our sisters, and he's still implementing these integration policies. And even with them integrating these policies, when you get to Menhotep, when you look at Narmer or Menes had help from the brothers in the south, the brothers from Nubia, Ethiopia, Ta-Nehesi had the help in unifying Kemet in the beginning. But when Menhotep had said enough is enough, and he began to fight these Asians, he did not have the help from the brothers in the south, because and this policy caused a grift or a dispute between their brothers in the south, where they was getting a lot of their resources from, especially during the beginning of their building stages, during the first through the fifth dynasty. When you go through the pyramid stage, when you go from the mastabas, them building in mud brick, and come and evolving and coming from mud brick into building the first step pyramid with Zoser, then going into the bent pyramid, and then the pyramids in Giza with Khufu, Khafre, and Menkaure. He began to make some of the same mistakes by still implementing those integration policies. He didn't learn from history. He didn't learn from the mistakes of his predecessors and from his ancestors. And you see this is uh, repeated constantly in Africa, and I mean in Kemet. But you also see this constantly repeated in real time today. You see, we have not learned, because again, like you say, a lot of us don't study. A lot of us don't read. You know what I'm saying? And definitely study history or historical events so we can learn from the past so we won't keep repeating the mistakes of our predecessors or keep repeating the mistakes of our ancestors.
All right, so that goes to answer the question. Integration was bad, has always been bad. We haven't prospered out of integration. We haven't had one momentous moment in history where integration looked good for the African, whether it be east, west, central, north, south. Integration has not been beneficial for us. So what do we do now? Because when we go back and we look at what Chancellor Williams is saying moving forward in the book, he begins to talk about the Ramesses eras, and he talk about the weak kings no longer being existed. But prior to that, he mentioned a power change, a shift in power, and that priest would become the next to dominate the societies along the Nile. They would get their crack at reestablishing some type of control. And that all comes out of the gist of Akhenaten presenting this one God theory to people, which would then change the tide as far as from a traditional and cultural perspective among the Nile. And in that, some would call Akhenaten weak. Weak for that. You know what I mean? Because he didn't build his rule on the same strength that his predecessors had. He took the religious route. I shouldn't say religious route. He took the a customary route and put forth, this notion of monotheistic nature among the people, and tried to unify the people under a monotheistic ideology.
And you made a good point, man. You talked about, man, kind of reiterate that around that period of Akhenaten, when Akhenaten ruled, and he came up with his ideal, like you said, with this one single Neteru or deity. You start to see where you talked about in the last show with the build of we actually working, and then from us working, we come up with this ideal of this religious mindset of spirituality concept where it's no more of believing in self and working and then putting. Now I can't. You worded it a different way, but kind of explain that. They didn't catch that the first show, and I think that was something important that you spoke of this era with Akhenaten.
Right. So in the era of Akhenaten, we dealt with more so of Ba, the soul, the spirit. Right. His unification would be, his administration would be the administration of bringing people or trying to unify the two lands over a monotheistic nature, which was a weak rule or a weak move, because who's gonna change their cultural ideology and submit to a unification under a monotheistic nature. Now, in this before the period of Akhenaten, you had work, you had people that was administering and creating and building things on their own. You still had the Neteru with the presence there dealing with the traditions and the customs, but these people took things into their own hands, and it wasn't no saviors or anything like that come into play, or no one God or no one nature rule that would influence the people, right? They had already been in depth in their ideology. and to have a shift in ideology and try to unify under an ideology and go from working hard to establish what you had going on to, okay, let's just believe that Ra will give us what we need in order to satisfy the two lands. That was a grave mistake. And then that, I believe that's why the ancestor Chancellor Williams was writing weak so much, because that politically and figuratively was a weak move to try to unify people who wouldn't come together over that monotheistic ideology.
Right. So that's when you begin to see different mindset. And I just wanted you to, kind of talk about that, because a lot of people say that Kemet has always been religious like that, but you don't see that ideology or that mindset or perspective take place until you get to this is the new kingdom. Now we in the new kingdom, right? We in the the 19th dynasty, somewhere around in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're in a new kingdom. So you got thousands of years going by without having to deal with all of that. And people was in the trenches. They were in the trenches, and they actually was building great civilization. Well, put together civilizations that would last thousands of years and advancing themselves and showing their prowess along the world stage. So think about that. You think about, you have a people or a person. When you have a people who running behind each other, showing their might, their military strength, their
God damn. My bad.
Oh, you over there messing up. But
I'm cussing her out. My bad.
Oh, yeah. I should have known. But you have a people that's standing up, on the muscle, on the strength. They getting to it. They getting it out the mud. They building empires. They like, man, look, we gonna be the baddest along this mud. We controlling trade. We ain't let nobody come in, come out. We ain't being punked. We running things. We got the gold in the south. You know what I'm saying? We got the trade. We got all the other resources we need in the north. We living right off the banks of the Nile. You know what I'm saying? We, when we need to grow things and do the things that we need in order to move our people forward, we on top of our game. There's no ifs, ands, buts about it. We handling our business. And then next thing you know, when chaos creates itself and differences are made, you have a split. You have these what we call intermediate periods, where people seem to think that they don't understand what intermediate actually means in this case. But in these intermediate periods, you have a weakness in kinship that takes place, causing them to be weak. And then all of a sudden, you go through periods after period after period, dynastic period after dynastic period, till you get up into the new kingdom. The next thing you know, you have somebody who didn't learn from the past, who knew of the past, but didn't learn from the past, and say, we're going to take this spiritual perspective and let's try to unify under a monotheistic nature. After all the blood, after all the fighting, after all the chaos, you want order to proceed under the unification of Ra. And that would show a weakness, because now you would infuse a religious ideology, or even more, a religious ideology among your people who were traditionally entrenched in the culture and the customs of a people already going a certain way. And now you want to interject and say, the heck with everybody else, they ain't that important in your lives. Let's just go ahead and deal with Ra. He gonna solve all our problems.
And we have that mindset to this very day. Well, we try to have that till I know a lot of people that have that same mindset, because I'm in the Bible Belt. So a lot of people have that same religious mindset that God is going to be able to do everything. They don't have to do anything anymore until I have to make them think logically. at times. You know, an example of that is an application. You know, someone want to get a job, you have to put in the work. You can't just pray to God or Yahweh or Yahshua or Yalla, whatever they call him, or Jehovah Jireh or Allah, um, and think that a job is just gonna pop in your hand. You're gonna have to do the work. And what I mean by you're gonna have to do the work, you're gonna have to put in the work. You're gonna have to go, you're gonna have to leave wherever you reside and go fill out an application. And that takes work. You got to get in a vehicle or walk or on bicycle, whatever your transportation is. Go to wherever the destination is, fill out an application or application from home. That takes work. You have to fill out an application. Some jobs you have to follow up on. You have to take work. You're not gonna get anything from, just praying and putting it in. A lot of us say putting it in God's hand. I'm gonna put it in God's hand. But you ain't putting it in God's hand. When you break your leg, you ain't praying right there and putting it in his hand for him to heal him. You telling somebody to call the damn ambulance to come get you so them doctors can see about your damn leg or your arm. But yes, we have our people are suffering from that religious mind state of not wanting to do anything but letting God do it for.
Yeah, I think that unifying under a single deity, it also speaks to the macrocosm of integrating into the larger society. As in contrast, our traditional way of life with our ancestors was a microcosm. We were more concerned about our village, you know what I'm saying, than the wider world. And within our village, these quote unquote lesser deities govern that. So to move to a singular supreme deity that is monotheistic, uh, what's the word I'm looking for, that interferes in the life of everyday man and woman. It speaks more to the macrocosm of integrating into the larger society.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that you see errors in that way. You know what I mean? Imagine had Akhenaten took a stronger stance. You know what I mean? He took that stance of who would later be the rule of the Ramesses rule, right? So, because what precedes Akhenaten is the Ramesses rule. So you have Seti the first, you got Ramesses the second, you got the third. You know what I mean? You have them running and wrecking shop. Because behind all them, they ain't playing no games no more. It's by the sword. The hell with Ra. You know what I'm saying? It's like, look, we getting back to the old, bro. Look, we finna do it this way, and that's how it's going down. We ain't playing no games with these people. We banging. You know what I mean? And they get to running people out. They get right back to business.
That's exactly what they did, banking. They went to banking for real. Go ahead.
We back to business. It's go time. Look, y'all don't belong here. You know what I'm saying? I done found my granddaddy grave. I done found, you know what I'm saying, some great kings over there, over here, and over there, and blah, 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 that rule out of these cities. And what I found over there is that they ain't like y'all. So why is y'all here? And this new breed of people, because we keep letting the new breed of people kind of being staunched in this, the new breed of people are feeling like, look, we've been here for a while too. This our rightful place. Them people down there in the south, them the one you need to get rid of. They're the same people that you trying to get rid of too. Y'all trying to get rid of, we trying to get rid of too. We banging on them too. They don't like us. They calling us fake, the new breed, they calling them fake Africans. You know what I'm saying? They dissing them, they set tripping on them. So, you know, you have this you have this reestablishment of great rule that takes place, and then after each one of the Ramesses, you know, they handle their business. Then you go back into you know, you lose power. Now, I was reading something, uh one of the little books that I'm, you know, I'm kind of doing my literature review on regarding some stuff that I'm gonna deal with in the future, probably in 2021, because I got a long way to go. I got like 4,000 pages of, you know, pages to read. I got a bunch of books to read. But to get my literature review in before I then go back and then, you know what I mean, cross reference and do what I need. But long story short, they talk about lineage lasting only until the fourth. What did he say? He said only until after the third. He really said after the third person. So it's your grandfather, father, son, and then by that fourth person, the rule or the lineage rule kind of get weak at that point. This is from a different perspective. It's un-African, this ideology, but you can kind of see remnants of that in ancient Kemet, where you see Seti, Ramesses the second, and Ramesses the third, and then after that, you know you see a period of weakness show back up. And then that is where you have an intermediate period again until somebody else had to come in and reign shop and take over control. And then you see this long rule of foreign rulers, Hekakasu, in the area and all these things. And, you know, we don't know these people coming. And then all of a sudden you got somebody in the South again say, hold on, bro. Y'all strangers to the land. This wasn't going down here. We want all this back. And all this is centered around, think about this. Every time that, you know, Africans take back over their land or over the area, it always starts with where the damn gold is. He who controls the gold controls the gold. You know what I'm saying? Business can't be handled until you got control of that gold, bro. Because you can't build no military prowess without it. How you gonna pay your people and do all the things that you need to do without that gold? So the South has always been important. So again, in integrating, it was, you know, it was the fall of ancient Kemet. And like I said on the show, I said we learn why Kemet failed, then we know why the continent failed. And I think that's a big deal. But that's where we really ended. And next week we pick up with chapter 4. Chapter 4 gonna be serious, and that's how we're gonna rock out with that. But I think that continuing the conversation, you know what I'm saying? We did this to actually begin more of a discussion about what we just did in case other people wanted us to expound on it, and we try to touch bases on it. A lot of people who probably was a part of the conversation are probably knocked out right now because they're an hour ahead of us and 3 hours ahead of Sutek. Hopefully we brought some clarity with what the show number 1 is. If you missed show number 1, please go back and review it. You know what I'm saying? Give us that just due. Appreciate all the love and the shout outs. And yeah, you know, we don't get as much love as everybody else, man. You know what I mean? Pure Black, but you know, really we do it for that? You know what I'm saying? We got much bigger goals, you know, not to shun or share, you know, shun any other person's progress. You applaud anyone's progress in this land of information and trying to reach and educate our people, you know, but we all have different paths for a particular reason. So maybe we would be more recognized by our work that we're trying to do and with our brothers and sisters on the continent and what we have coming. Maybe we'll be remembered more by that than just, you know what I mean, as far as being recognized on certain platforms among the minority, you know what I mean? Because I like to think that, you know, us and became our families, under the Amara Squad umbrella, we are the minority in the community. You know what I mean? Because we don't just stand behind a computer. You know what I'm saying? Like we're like active, like proactive in trying to liberate our brothers and sisters and children. So I think that separates us from other people on other platforms that aren't getting busy like we're getting busy. And we just ain't on here lying and making up stuff. And you know, if we want to sweet talk everybody out of their panties and mess with their minds and talk about their third eye and you know what I'm saying, how to beat the coronavirus by eating a certain type of a dirt. You know, I got that. You know what I'm saying? I got that sale if you want. You know, we ain't doing none of that. So if we were taking advantage of people, we would be more popular.
Right. But you know, I'm just gonna say this and put this on the record. You know, we ain't really thinking about being popular. You know, at one point in time, it was frustrating that we wasn't getting the views or the love as some of these other platforms are. But like I say over here with Kofi Pice, our research team, and Mossy Warrior Clan, and Amin Ra Squad, and you know, we look at everything. We stand on morals and we stand on principles. So we're not gonna compromise ourselves. Like Sean said, we can do some of what I say the nigga shit, you know, that everybody else is doing to get the reviews, but we we're not going to do that. We understand over here. We exemplify good character because we know the worldview and the perspective of the African, and their main goal was to cultivate good character. Their main goal was to make you the highest human or humanitarian as possible, which comes with a lot of good traits. So therefore, we try to set that example over here, and being setting a good example is sometimes not the popular thing to do. But you know, that's fine and dandy too. But I'll say this, that Kofi Pice, our research team, and Master Warrior Clan, I don't think nobody in this pandemic is working harder than we have worked in these last 10 months in this pandemic. We have a track record to back down to back up what I'm actually is saying. We're actually putting in the work. We're not a social media group where we meet on Sundays, Mondays, or Saturdays whenever we go live and do shows from our YouTube channels and our like page on Facebook. We conversate every day. We talk every day. We plan, we strategize, and we trying to make a change in our community. And you see we're doing that with the numerous publications that we pull out. I don't think nobody is outworking us right now for the content that we're putting on the channels, but not only the content, just the groundbreaking work that we're doing. We actually have books that is in the motherland. People that has been doing this thing longer than we have. We have broke grounds and even dispelled the myth that Africans on the continent do like Africans in America. So we have dispelled that myth. We also have, like I said, we have books down there. We even have a scholarship. We have a partnership with these people in Gambia, but we have a scholarship where we are also funding. We are funding a student to go to school, which we're going to do more of funding. And by the way, with that, brother Ben, who is the co-founder of Massey Warrior Clan, he also have his Black Panther scholarship down there too. So we are working. We have a scholarship. We have books down there in Africa. And please don't contact me about a scholarship if you're not going to do the work. Someone contacted me. Peace to that brother. But anybody else, I'm not going to introduce you to Fatu or anybody down there in Gambia if you're not serious. You know, so please don't approach me about getting a scholarship if you're not serious about getting a scholarship, because it does require you putting up some funds in order to get a scholarship and fund a person or persons to go to school down there in the numerous schools that Fatu have down there. But again, we is working, man. Like I said, we done put out 6 publications in the last 8 to 10 months. We have another publication on the way. I'm talking about real soon. Like I'm saying, so we are doing groundbreaking work, you know what I'm saying, as far as the publications, the relationships with Africa, the Texas in Africa, and our books, being scattered out abroad everywhere in different stores as well. So man, we working. So we ain't tripping about being popular or people speaking our name all the time. It's not going to stir us. We're gonna keep doing what we doing, and as we continue to bring quality information, do it at the best of our ability. Be humble doing it and present information with good character. Continue to put out good publications. Continue to make relationships in Africa, because we're not only going to hit Gambia, but we're going to hopefully be able to hit other places in West Africa, other West African markets, where we're able to get our publications and build partnership there. And partnership now, even when I'm talking about the partnership with the scholarships and the books, even a clothing brand. We have a clothing brand with our brothers and sisters in Africa called the Mboka brand clothing, which is coming real soon as well. So appreciate everybody that tune in. Appreciate people that do share our videos. Appreciate people that do respect what we doing, man. Much love to y'all, man, and we gonna continue to do what we want to do, regardless if people watch, regardless if people don't, regardless if people give our flowers or not. But I just don't think that people know exactly the magnitude of things that we have done and we have accomplished in the last 10 months. And I think we're gonna get our flowers in 2021 when people catch up, because we moving so fast at a fast rate that I don't think people have just actually caught up, and the things that sunk in to what actually Kofi Price, our research team, the Master Warrior Clan is actually doing. And I don't think nobody during this pandemic has outworked us, and we are not a social media group.
So Ted, what you got? Yeah, that's how we rocking, man.
Yeah, they're gonna get down or they're gonna lay down. We ain't worried about it, man. Yeah, appreciate all y'all, man, for coming through, man. Check us out next time. That's all I got.
Yeah. All right, so next Sunday show will be Sunday evening, man. At so I think we started at 7 7 Central, 8 Eastern. Every Sunday we're doing chapter 4 of Destruction of a Black Civilization, Chancellor Williams' book. So if you have the book and you want to follow along with the discussion and be a part of the bill, make sure that you are tuned in to Kofi Paisai TV next week. If you're on the like page, share the like page. If you're on YouTube, subscribe to our YouTube channel. If it's your first time, second time, or third time here, we appreciate that. Go subscribe to the Masu Warrior Clan YouTube channel and Niger Valley Civilization YouTube channel. Just click on Sutek name in the chat and subscribe there too, because we have a little fun.
Omni Africa. Go subscribe to Omni Africa and Chronicles of Niggerton. That's our new members' website. My website, but YouTube channel as well.
Yep. Make sure that you support us, man. We have 2 volumes out right now. Spears of the Mossy Volume 1 from Spears of Pen Volume 2. We got Kalawa's Trip to the Motherland. Then we have One Night Before Bed. We got As I Learn, We All Learn. And then we have From Cocaine to Consciousness. Those are 6 publications that we have right now that you can get at KofiPaiSiTV.com. And we prefer you to go to KofiPaiSiTV.com to help support us in all of our endeavors. Like I said, we're not begging or asking anyone to donate money to the Kofi Paisai research team at all. We are trying to provide you with a service in order to receive any money from you. And like I said, what we have been doing is we have been donating a lot of the funds that we've made off the books to our brothers and sisters on the continent to not only deal with the scholarship, but other avenues of interest as far as supplies and resources for those brothers and sisters to be able to maintain their education and whatnot. And so we continue to do these things in good faith and to be different than everybody else. And hopefully our differences is recognized and appreciated from everyone else. So if you trying to educate your kid, advance your kid, give them another opportunity or avenue of information, this is the channel. We are the people for you because we're doing it for you first. We're not doing it for ourselves. We're doing it for you. And you know, our families sacrifice a lot of time, you know, putting up with us, you know, because we do a lot of work, we're doing a lot of reading, doing a lot of research. Then when we in book mode, when we're writing and things of that nature, you know, they give us the space and the energy and opportunity to write those books, put this information out, deal with it. You know what I mean? If the pandemic wasn't going on right now, you would see us in different city states because, you know, those are places where we would be. You know, we need to be in Cleveland. You know what I mean? Cleveland it has been an intricate part of what we got going on. Shout out to Sister LaDosha Rice. Shout out to Brother Chill. Shout out to Brother Vince. They all been instrumental in promoting our work on their networks, their radio stations, among their clientele, among their people. You know what I mean? They didn't have to do that. So I appreciate them and the connections and the relationships that we have built with all of them and continue to pay their way forward. You know, thanks to Brother Unc for setting the standard in the community for us to be a part of it. You know, and then move things forward so that we can, I don't know, Pure, but it's like a multi-level marketing company, but allowing us to continue to do the things that we're doing. So we're going to keep building, we're going to keep grinding, we're going to keep doing everything we got to do. Spears are flying, pseudos are crying. That's my pick.
Real quick, what we talking about next Sunday with that. If you hadn't tuned in, go check out the Author's Perspective. Go check out those shows. That's a new show that we created 2 months ago. We loving the show Author's Perspective. We also have something else that we just another show. So we have Author's Perspective. Please go and check out those shows, Author Perspective. We have the book club, the book review club now that we doing that we discussing. This is the after show. We also have a new show which was sparked by an interview that we had with Brother Ben and brother Benjamin Njai and Brother West, what we call the Warrior Scholars. So from that we can created a show called Warrior Scholars. So now we have the book club review show, we have the Author's Perspective, and now we have the Warrior Scholar Show where we'll be interviewing some of our favorite warrior scholars and some of the up and coming warrior scholars. So we'll have a first show. We have a first show this week. I don't want to say who is actually the person we'll be interviewing. I consider this brother the warrior scholar, up and coming warrior scholar. He's a part of a great group. It's a channel that I watch. You know what I'm saying? That I recommend to people, that I'll vouch for as far as the information. So be on the lookout for that at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time on Kofi Paisai TV. It is called Warrior Scholars. That is the name of that new show. But that's all I have, man. I just thought of that, man. Joe, y'all just be on the lookout, man. We working.
Appreciate y'all coming through. That's all I got.
All right, that's peace then. That's peace then. On that note, man, we're going to say, as we always say, man, Shalom Hotep.